You wake up and everything feels heavy. Maybe you slept terribly. Maybe work drained you. Maybe life just decided to throw everything at you at once. And now that habit you promised yourself you'd stick to, it feels impossible, not hard, impossible. This is the moment where most people quit. Not on a random Tuesday when things are fine, but on the days when showing up feels like the last thing you could possibly do. And here's the thing. If your habit system can't survive your worst days, it's not a system, it's a wish. Most habit advice is built for your best days. Wake up at 5 a.m. Crush your morning routine. Visualize your goals. That's great when you're feeling energized and optimistic. But what about when you're running on 4 hours of sleep? What about when you just got bad news? What about when the thought of doing anything extra makes you want to crawl back into bed? That's where real habit systems are tested, not in the highlight reel, in the behind-the-scenes footage nobody posts about. Today, I want to show you a deceptively simple idea that changes everything about how you approach habits. It's called the 2-minute rule, and once you understand it, you'll never look at consistency the same way again. Let me paint a picture first. You decide you're going to work out every morning. Day 1, you crush it. 45 minutes, full routine, you feel amazing. Day 2, solid. Day 3, still going. Day 7, you're a little tired, but you push through. Day 12, you wake up sore, stressed about a deadline, and your brain says, skip today, you've earned it. You'll go twice as hard tomorrow. And just like that, the streak breaks. 1 day off becomes 2. 2 becomes a week. A week becomes, I'll start again on Monday. Sound familiar? This pattern isn't a character flaw, it's a design flaw. You built a habit that only works when conditions are perfect, and conditions are almost never perfect. The 2-minute rule fixes this. The concept comes from the idea that any habit can be scaled down to something that takes 2 minutes or less. Want to read every night? Your habit isn't read for 30 minutes. Your habit is open the book and read 1 page. Want to work out every morning? Your habit isn't a full gym session. Your habit is put on your workout clothes and step outside. Want to meditate? Your habit isn't 20 minutes of deep focus. Your habit is sit down and take 3 breaths. Now, I already know what you're thinking. 1 page, 3 breaths? That's not going to change my life. And you're right. 1 page won't make you well read. 3 breaths won't transform your mental health. But that's not the point. The point is that you showed up, and showing up is the entire game. Here's why this works on a deeper level. Every time you perform a habit, no matter how small, you're casting a vote for the kind of person you want to become. 1 page makes you someone who reads every day. 3 breaths makes you someone who meditates. Putting on your workout clothes makes you someone who exercises. These are not trivial things. These are identity shifts happening in real time, and they compound in ways you won't notice until months later, when you look back and realize you haven't missed a day. Think about it this way. The person who reads 1 page every single day for a year has read at least 365 pages. That's roughly 3 to 4 books. But more importantly, they've built an unshakable identity as a reader. The person who said, I'll read for 30 minutes every night and quit after 2 weeks, they read maybe 150 pages total and still think of themselves as someone who can't stick to habits. Consistency beats intensity. Every single time, a small habit done daily will always outperform an ambitious habit done sporadically. This isn't motivational fluff, it's math. And this connects to something fundamental about how habits actually form. A habit isn't really about the behavior itself. It's about the repetition of the behavior in response to a cue. The more times you repeat that loop, the more automatic it becomes. The strength of the loop doesn't depend on how long you do the behavior. It depends on how many times you do it. A 2-minute habit repeated every single day builds a stronger loop than an hour-long habit done twice a week. Your brain is counting repetitions, not minutes. Let's talk about how to actually implement this, because the 2-minute rule is simple, but it's not always obvious how to apply it. Step 1 is to take the habit you want to build and strip it down to its absolute minimum. Not the smallest version that still feels productive, the smallest version that still counts as doing it. There's a difference. If your habit is journaling, the 2-minute version isn't write a full page. It's open your notebook and write one sentence. If your habit is learning a language, it's not complete a full lesson. It's open the app. If your habit is eating healthier, it's not cook a full meal from scratch. It's put one vegetable on your plate. You want the barrier to entry so low that it feels almost ridiculous to skip it. Because on your worst days, that ridiculously low bar is the only thing standing between you and a broken streak. And streaks matter more than you think. Not because of some magical power in consecutive days, but because momentum is psychologically real. Once you've shown up for 30 days in a row, the cost of breaking that streak becomes a motivator in itself. Step 2 is what I call the gateway effect. Most of the time, once you start the 2-minute version, you'll naturally do more. You open the book to read one page, and you end up reading 10. You put on your workout clothes, and you think, well, I'm already dressed. Might as well do a quick set. You open your journal to write one sentence, and before you know it, you've filled half a page. The 2-minute version is really a starting ritual. It's the ignition key. Getting started is almost always the hardest part, and the 2-minute rule eliminates that friction entirely. But here's the crucial part. You have to genuinely be okay with stopping after 2 minutes. If the 2-minute version is secretly just a trick to guilt yourself into doing more, your brain will catch on. On a bad day, you'll think, I know if I start, I'll have to do the whole thing, and you won't start at all. The deal you make with yourself has to be real. Some days you will only read one page. Some days you will only do 3 breaths. And that has to be a win, not a consolation prize. A genuine win, because it is one. Let me share something that made this click for me. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't wake up every morning and debate whether you have the motivation to brush your teeth. You don't need an accountability partner or a habit tracker or a vision board. You just do it. It's automatic. It's part of your identity. You're a person who brushes their teeth. That's what the 2-minute rule is building toward. It's not about the 2 minutes. It's about making the habit so ingrained, so automatic, so fundamentally part of who you are that skipping it feels weirder than doing it. And the fastest path to that level of automation is repetition, not intensity, not duration, just pure, boring, consistent repetition. Now let's talk about the biggest mistake people make with this approach. They scale up too fast. They do the 2-minute version for 3 days, feel good, and immediately jump to the full version. Then a bad day hits, and they're right back where they started because they abandoned the safety net. Here's a better approach. Stick with the 2-minute version for at least 2 weeks. I know that sounds excessive. Do it anyway. Let it become truly automatic before you add anything. Then, when you do scale up, do it gradually. Go from 1 page to 5 pages, from 3 breaths to 5 minutes of meditation, from putting on your clothes to a 10-minute walk. Keep the increases small enough that the habit still feels easy on your worst days. And here's the real trick. Even after you've scaled up to a full 30-minute workout or a 20-minute meditation session, keep the 2-minute version as your floor, your minimum viable habit, the version you do when everything goes wrong. You're sick, 2-minute version. Traveling, 2-minute version. Emotional wreck, 2-minute version. The floor is non-negotiable. Everything above it is a bonus. This is what separates people who maintain habits for years from people who maintain them for weeks. They have a floor. They have a version of the habit that can survive anything. And because they never fully stop, they never have to restart. Restarting is where most habit attempts die. It's infinitely easier to maintain momentum than to rebuild it from zero. Let me give you a real-world example of how this plays out. Say you want to build a writing habit. You've tried before. You set a goal of writing 1,000 words a day. You did it for a week, maybe 2, and then a busy day came along and you missed it. Then you missed another. Then you felt so far behind that starting again felt pointless. With the 2-minute rule, your approach looks different. Your daily habit is to open your document and write one sentence. That's it. Day 1, you write one sentence. Day 2, you write one sentence. But then you keep going and write a full paragraph. Day 5, you write 500 words because you felt inspired. Day 8, you're exhausted and you write one terrible sentence. And that's fine. Day 15, writing one sentence feels strange to stop at, so you naturally push to 200 words. Day 30, you've written every single day for a month, and the habit is starting to feel automatic. Some of those days you wrote 1,000 words. Some days you wrote 10, but you never wrote 0. And never zero is the most powerful habit strategy that exists. There's also something worth understanding about what happens in your brain when you maintain consistency like this. Your brain forms habits through a process of neural pathway strengthening. Every time you perform an action, the neural pathway associated with that action gets a little stronger, a little faster, a little more automatic. Your brain doesn't care if you ran 5 miles or walked to the end of your driveway. It only registers that the running habit pathway fired again. The signal gets stronger either way. This means that from a pure habit formation perspective, the person who does a tiny version every single day is building a stronger neural pathway than the person who does an intense version 3 times a week. Frequency beats volume when you're trying to make something automatic. Now, I want to address something that often gets overlooked. The 2-minute rule isn't just for starting new habits. It's also incredibly effective for maintaining existing habits during rough patches. Maybe you've been meditating for 6 months, and suddenly life gets chaotic. Instead of abandoning the practice entirely and having to rebuild later, drop down to the 2-minute version. 3 breaths. Maintain the streak. Keep the neural pathway alive. When the storm passes, you can scale right back up because you never actually stopped. Think of it like keeping a fire going. It takes a lot of effort to start a fire from scratch, but if you keep even a tiny ember alive, you can rebuild the flame quickly. The 2-minute version is your ember. Guard it carefully. I think people underestimate how much damage a full stop does to a habit. When you quit entirely, even for a few days, you don't just lose the days, you lose the identity. You go from "I'm a person who meditates" back to "I'm trying to start meditating." That mental shift is devastating. It reintroduces all the doubt, all the friction, all the "should I or shouldn't I" negotiation that you had already moved past. The 2-minute rule prevents that identity collapse. You might be doing the bare minimum, but you're still doing it. You're still that person. And that matters more than volume ever will. So let me bring this all together with something practical you can do right now. Think of one habit you've been struggling with. Just one. Now ask yourself, what's the 2-minute version? What's the absolute smallest thing you could do that still counts? Write it down. Make it specific. Not exercise, but do 2 push-ups. Not eat healthy, but eat 1 piece of fruit with breakfast. Not be more mindful, but take 3 deep breaths before checking my phone in the morning. Start there. Tomorrow, not with the full version, not with the ideal version, the 2-minute version, and make a deal with yourself that on your absolute worst day, that tiny version is enough. It counts. It matters. Because it does. You are not cutting corners. You are protecting the streak that future you will be grateful for. The secret to habits isn't willpower or motivation or finding the perfect morning routine. It's building a system that's so easy to maintain that you can do it at your lowest point. The 2-minute rule gives you that system. It turns "I can't do this today" into "I can at least do this." And "at least" is all you ever need. Your environment plays a huge role in making even these tiny habits stick, and there are smart ways to design your surroundings so the right behaviors happen almost automatically. And once you've got a habit that you can maintain on your worst days, there are powerful ways to chain multiple habits together into a full routine that runs almost on autopilot. But for now, just focus on this. Pick one habit, find the 2-minute version, and show up tomorrow. That's it. That's the whole strategy. And I promise you, it works better than any complicated system you've ever tried. because the best habit isn't the most impressive one, it's the one you actually